How do you know the good guys from the bad guys in the middle of the night?
I'm here with Mary and Mark, and they have something interesting to share with us today. It's a non-lethal self-defense weapon that will help keep us safe, and it's an alternative to a firearm. What they've got is the Byrna HD Launcher. All right, guys, tell me why you got this and what you're going to use it for.
Well, we're campers, as you know, and I had read someplace about, people, maybe they've got an intruder. It could be an animal. It could be another human. And we wanted something for protection. But I've got to be perfectly honest with you. I don't feel comfortable with having an actual weapon. I couldn't live with the consequences if, whether it was someone who was going to come and hurt me and I shot them, I cannot, personally, my heart, I can't live with those consequences. So I wanted something that I could stop somebody or something and still live with myself afterward. And that was this. I happened to be on a Facebook page, and somebody else asked, what do you use for protection? Oh. And there were all of these different things that came up, everything from I have a Glock, I've got a 757 Magnum or whatever it is, and all this, and I'm thinking, that sounds pretty lethal. And the one question I put out there is, are you prepared to live with the consequences after?
Yeah, that's a really good point. And the other issue that I would have personally with having a gun is I don't know how to use a gun. Right. And of course I could learn how to use a gun. When I was, I don't know, maybe around 10 years old, my dad took me out and had me shoot a gun. And I remember how heavy that was. And then when I shot it, the power of it really was intimidating to me. So having a gun, I would be more concerned that somebody would end up using it against me, my own gun against me, just because of my fear of the gun and not knowing everything I need to know about handling a gun appropriately.
Now, and that's not to say that I have an issue with guns. My husband is an expert marksman. Both of our boys are hunters. There are guns in our home. I have no, qualm with that.
Yeah, and
but
I don't either.
It's not used up against another human being.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where my problem with the consequence came in. When I read about this, I immediately went to YouTube and looked it up, and there were videos on this, and I thought, okay, this is something that will stop either an animal or a human, and they could ultimately, at the end of the day, walk away. But I also thought, this is going to give me enough time to either, hit the emergency alarm on my truck and have that thing go off, or give me the opportunity to get into my truck so that I can drive away. It's going to give me enough time to get away rather than have to sit there and call the police and say, hey, I just shot somebody. And the other thing is I've heard people that are like, well, if somebody comes knocking at my door, my camper at night, we have had rangers come to our door at night to warn us about weather. And if I would have panicked at that moment and I would have had a live weapon, I could have hurt that ranger. And that's where, when I say I can't live with those consequences, how do you know the good guys from the bad guys in the middle of the night? And when you just come out of a cold sleep, you're not thinking, so I'd rather wing somebody with this, get out of the way, rather than know that I've done bodily harm or killed them.
Well, I hope none of us are ever in that situation, and that's ideal. But I can understand how having something like this would just give you some peace of mind.
Right.
And I'm starting to do more solo camping, and that is another reason that this is of particular interest to me. So can you show me what you got here?
Yep.
But first, if you're new here, I'm Randy. And every Thursday, I help us make big memories in small campers. And say it with me, because weekends are just too short. So what I noticed, guys, is looking at this, it looks like a real gun.
But it's significantly lighter.
Yeah, it is lighter.
Now, it does come in a variety of colors. It comes in black, which, you would actually think it was a gun. It even comes in pink. So.
Well, and two, I think that if people were to think it's a real gun, Mark, do you think that people would actually think that this is a real gun if they didn't know?
Yes.
Okay. So I think if you got a pink gun, or if you had a pink one, would people think it's a real gun? Well,
I don't know.
Not.
Maybe not.
Maybe not.
But I think one of the things that would be helpful is just the fact that you've got something, and if you show it to somebody, that might motivate
Just be
them
enough to
be,
go, wait, I don't think I want to pick on these people.
Yep, let's go find somebody else, which you don't want them to do that either, but it might actually be a way to defend yourself without even using it.
Now, this actually comes with, I don't know what you would call these. They're the pellets that go inside the launcher.
Okay, let me hold that up so people can see.
And they actually come in 4 different kinds. And the one is right here. It is what they call the inert. And they're green and white, and those are for practice.
Okay.
And then you have the kinetic, which are actually these gray ones. And the kinetic ones you can actually shoot someone with. And what that's going to do is it's just going to hit them. It's going to give them a heck of a bruise, and it's likely to stop them.
Yeah, it feels like a hard marble.
Yeah.
So this is what gets shot out of the gun.
That's what gets shot out of the gun.
Okay.
And then we have the next one over here, and this is when you are really kind of beginning to tell people you mean business, and this is the pepper spray. And so this one is kind of a orange and green, and when that hits, it's going to explode and it's going to do pepper, and so that's really going to stop someone, because that pepper is going to go up into their eyes and their nose, and they're going to know they were hit with something. There is a 4th bullet, I guess. I don't know what you would call these, a bullet or whatever they call them. But anyway, there's a 4th one that we don't have, and that's a combination of pepper spray and tear gas. Now, with that one, if you find that you order a Byrna from the company and it won't take your order, it's most likely because your state doesn't allow tear gas to be shipped into the state.
Oh, so depending on the state you live in will depend on if you can get the tear gas one. The tear gas.
Wisconsin, you cannot get the tear gas one shipped in. Minnesota, you can ship it in there. But I'm thinking pepper spray is enough to stop somebody.
Well, that was going to be my next question. Yeah. Do you know the difference between the effectiveness or how long it's going to take someone down?
The pepper spray, I'm assuming it's going to have that, burning and all of that, where the tear gas, you're literally, from what I've seen on videos, you're literally down.
Oh, see, that's something I didn't even know.
Well, you've been tear gassed.
You've been tear gassed, Mark?
Yeah.
No.
And it's not fun, is it?
No.
I can't
Your
imagine.
nose runs.
He was in the military.
I was going to ask, how come you've been tear gassed?
Your eyes burn, your eyes water, your nose runs copious amounts, you choke. It's not a good feeling, no.
How long would something like that last? Is it something that lasts for a while?
10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes.
Ooh, that could be a long 10 or 15 minutes.
And I would imagine the pepper spray is going to do something equally for 10 or 15 minutes. So, somebody's going to know they're hit, whether they go with just the inert or with the pepper spray. Somebody's going or something is going to know that they've been hit.
Mm-hmm.
If you Google Byrna, there's full demonstrations on the effectiveness of this launcher.
And YouTube has them. So, you just put BYRNA and you're going to find all kinds of videos and things. So,
well, show me how you load it up. Or is that what's called? You load it up, right?
Gas powered.
Okay, it's gas powered.
CO2. The cartridge goes in the front in this tube. Plug is screwed in. And there is a tool at the end of the magazine that you gently rotate it, get it snug. We just leave it on safe when we're handling it. Here's the pellets. They go in the magazine. 5 pellets.
now one of the things that I noticed on one of the YouTubes that I watched was that what they said was for protection, it's a really good idea. This takes 5 pellets. Put 2 of the inerts in, and then put a pepper spray. So if somebody is coming at you, the first thing you've done is you've hit them with 2 inerts.
And those
which
are
is going to get the hard ones.
The hard ones, okay.
Yeah, that's going to give them a good bruise, and that's likely to stop them.
Okay.
And if it still is coming at you, either, beast or man, then hit them with the 3rd one, and that would be the pepper spray. Or that would be your tear gas, depending upon if you're in a state where you can have that. So if you were feeling unsafe, or if you were in an area camping, and you were like, well, this seems a little dodgy to me. what you could do is you can have it just like this. You haven't punctured your CO2 cartridge yet, but it's loaded and ready to go. So all you have to do is if something is coming at you, you flip your switch to take it off safe. You pull the trigger slightly once, it's going to puncture the CO2, and you're ready to go. And that's going to take you like a half a second to do.
Magazine release right there. This indicates there's a ball left in the chamber, and they eject that. You just push down. Now the weapon is empty.
I mentioned that I was looking for something that was non-lethal, and what I liked about this is right on their membership card here it says that it's non-lethal protection. No permits are required. It is no federal license required. There are no background checks. It is CO2 powered. It has a 60-foot range.
Well, that's not totally true. You need to go to the Byrna website and the Byrna video, and there's some states that you do need a permit.
What I liked about this is this little phrase right here. Leading the way in less than lethal. And I like the idea of this being less than lethal. I think it's lethal that has bothered me. So less than lethal I can deal with.
Got it? Just shoot for the cardboard.
Shoot for the cardboard. Pull the trigger back.
Hard.
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 Oh, look at you, you did that. Okay, I'm gonna shoot for that tree. That really flew. Wow. That does go a distance, doesn't it?
It hit the blue tree.
It does sound like a gun being fired, doesn't it? Yeah, there's a hole right there. Look at all the holes. Right there.
It went all the way through, and this is a double layer of cardboard. This one went through. So if somebody was hit with this, they're certainly going to know they were hit.
Yeah, you're gonna feel it, aren't you?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.